Okay, today we all are gathered here for a training program in DXN by a great personality from Philippines. He is with DXN from last 6 years. Before calling him on stage, I would like to share some achievements with you all. This is a privilege for us that he has taken some time for us from his busy schedule and traveled directly from Philippines to India for first time. He has a specialty in general surgery and subspecialty in pediatric surgery from last 16 years. He is also holding a position of chairman in Department of Surgery at Barkalot Sanitarium and Hospital, director in Medical Education Research and Training at Tiongpi Medical Center, chief in section of Pediatric Surgery and Department of Surgery at Riverside Medical Center and Corazon Loxin Montalbano Regional Hospital. He is also a consultant in pediatric surgery at the Doctors Hospital, Barkalot and Tiongpi Medical Center. So there are a lot many things to tell about him. I would just like to welcome a star diamond from Philippines, Dr.R.V.Hao.
So, can you hear me? Yeah. Again, very sorry for the delay because we are now high-tech presentation, so there is bound to be some problems here and there, and I know you understand. So first of all, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to meet so many people from India. I have made so many friends from India actually long before I have seen the country. And I've found them to be very warm and very beautiful people as well. And I am very happy that for the first time I was able to visit India and even toured so many cities by now. I cannot count them anymore. And I still do more. So how are you? So what else do I have to say? First of all, I would like to say that my visit here in India had been very fruitful, although I had to leave my practice in my small city in Bacolod in the Philippines. And as I was telling some of my friends here, every time I go home, every time I go back to the Philippines, I do so many surgeries. It's because my patients accumulate at the time when I'm away from the country. And so it will look like I'm a very, very busy surgeon when I get there. But it's only because that I'm leaving most of the time. So, are you ready for a very long lecture this morning?
Yes.
It is going to be long because I don't want to cut it up. I believe that what I have prepared is something that you will definitely use in your DXN business as well as in your lives. So that's why I prepared a very long lecture for all of you. And then also when you go to consult medical doctors, how much do you pay in rupees? It probably to be something like 200 to 250. That's a lot of money already. And how long do you stay inside the clinic of the doctor? Only 15 minutes at the most. Here, you will listen to me talk for more than 2 hours. So, as the DXN sun rises in the world, or as the sun rises in the DXN world, I would like to greet all of you. Namaste. Good morning.
Good morning.
DXN India. Good morning. DXN International Private Limited is the global business of the next century and beyond. Meaning to say, 100 years from now, DXN will still be here. We are going to do everything to make it stay in the world long before all of us have gone. And as I go around the country in the key cities of the Philippines, I also do many lectures there. I always present a synopsis and a summary of selected DXN products, their many uses in keeping our bodies healthy, and their explanations. And as I was introduced, I am Dr.R.V.Hao, your friendly neighbor from the Philippines. And I am a general surgeon as well as a pediatric surgeon. And I am a fellow of at least 3 societies: the Philippine Society of Pediatric Surgeons, the Philippine Pediatric Society, and the Philippine College of Surgeons. I think here in India you call that triple MS. So I operate on adults as well as very young infants, just delivered by their mothers. So as I go around my country, I realize that what DXN members really need to listen to is just a lecture on health education. They just want to know how to take care of their own body and to keep it healthy. Many DXN members are hungry for knowledge on how to stay away from all those diseases. And since DXN is a helping company, they also want to know how to help other people through a very good business such as DXN, and to keep people also healthy, wealthy, and a success in their lives. And then, as I note, they want only very simple lectures. Simple lectures. They don't hope to become doctors after the lecture. They want lectures that are direct to the point. How do these DXN products exactly help us? The exact mechanism and the explanations we want to know. So, in 1993, when Dr. Lim Shaojin introduced the company DXN to the world in Malaysia, and also the mushroom that changed the world, he had to go around and give lectures on gynotherapy. Obviously, gynotherapy comes from the word Ganoderma lucidum, our mushroom. And since 1993, he has been doing those lectures. And in 2003, I also started my own lectures in the Philippines. I actually became member of DXN in 2001, but for 2 years I slept because I did not believe in the products. But it was my brother who was very patient, and who is now a crown diamond in the Philippines, and is also 2-time chairman of the Executive Diamonds Council, elected for DXN Philippines. He was very patient. Every day, every week, every month, he would bring me journals, books, brochures, whatever resource materials for Ganoderma or Spirulina, and just stock them in my room. For a while, I was not even touching them. And then there came some lonely nights when I had to read something, and I took some of them. They were already piling up too tall. And then I started reading, and then that's when I discovered a whole new world of mushroom and food supplementation. And then I started making my own research until I was able to prove that many scientific reports and clinical trials have actually already been done several years ago. It was just that nobody was reading them, definitely not the medical doctors. So all of these have been done, and some of which are still ongoing, and all of them prove that food supplementations can really benefit human health. So in 2005, so many other products came to the Philippines: the spirulina, the androgen, the cordypine, the bee pollen. Many of these are not even available in India yet because of your stricter government rules and policies. And so I thought that the term gynotherapy now is quite lacking. It can only explain Ganoderma lucidum. How about the other products of DXN? And we still have so many other products aside from the food supplements that we have. We also have beverages. We also have personal care products and household products. And also some upcoming products. We already have the sandwich bread. We already have the talcum powder, the lotion. And then so many other things like women can use, like lipstick, perfumes. And then we already have juices. We also have a lot of fruit juices already. So in 1993, 2003, it was gynotherapy. And last year when I toured the Middle East, the Gulf, I had to go around with another set of lectures called herbotherapy. Herb, from the root word herb, the first 4 letters, meaning to say that all our food supplements really come from the herbs given to us by God, from nature. Again, that term herbotherapy now is not applicable because in 2007 I realized so many other companies have come out. Some of them are mushroom companies also. MLM companies also trying to compete with our own company here in DXN. So I thought that term is again lacking. And so to protect our company, I have to go around again and make lectures on Dachshund therapy. Dachshund, of course, comes from the three letters DXN. That means that's also the name of the company that Dr.R.V.Hao initially established in Malaysia. And so I want this to be known as Dachshund therapy because I want that our testimonies, our trials, and the products of my researches shall not be used by any other company but DXN. So thank you, DXN, for giving us Dachshund therapy, which heretofore shall be known also as DXN therapy. And I'm very glad that I was able to present this first in Malaysia, where it all came from. So my good news to you really is that all our DXN products are still very much alive up to today. And we are very thankful that so many people have already been alleviated from their pains, from their illnesses and their afflictions using our food supplements. And what are my proofs? These are the text messages and the email messages that I received from DXN members, both from the Philippines and even outside the Philippines, telling me how good our products are. They will text me or call me and ask me for recommendations, and I give them the recommendations, and I immediately get instantaneous feedbacks, and I can know how these products benefited them, and I can share this with other people also. So that's how we are sharing all these products also with other people. Also, my consultations and conversations that I make with DXN members have told me how good our products are. Of course, many of these will be unknown to you because these are exchanges only between me and the writer. But I'm sure that in the future I will be able to share my frustrations and my happinesses to all the people of DXN gradually and eventually in my future lectures. So Ganoderma and me actually have established a relationship for many years already. And in fact, when I went to Malaysia, I had this picture taken together with a Ganoderma musician. And then, I want to tell you that all our DXN products are good, but it is the Ganoderma, the mushroom, which shall always occupy center stage. Meaning to say, it is still our best product. It is still our centerpiece product. It is still the gold standard against which all the other herbs and all the other mushrooms and all the other mushroom companies shall be compared. So remember also that we are a mushroom-based company. We are a company that mushroom built. And of course, I told you already that many other mushroom companies have mushroomed and in fact continue to mushroom around us. But we are not afraid. We are not phased because DXN is a very good company, the best company, and has remained so for many years. And India, with its 1.2 billion people, is slowly inching now to become #1 in the DXN world. And slowly, it is going to help DXN to become the #1 also in the MLM. We do not mind to give India the honors of being #1. First of all, there are more people in India than in the Philippines. You are 1.2 billion, we are only 80 million. So, and I will not be surprised that one of these days you're going to overtake us as the #1 in the DXN world. But we will be very happy because together, our efforts will make DXN the #1 MLM company in the world. It is now #2, so very, very close already. And in the Philippines, out of the 500 plus companies there, mostly MLMs, DXN is #1. And also one of the top 1,000 corporations in the Philippines. So my message is, the efforts of the other companies shall always pale in comparison. Their image is going to remain a second-rate, trying hard copycats, but following in the footsteps of DXN. But also, copycat is not entirely a negative word. In fact, there's a book called Copycat 101, which I hope some of you will get hold of. It is actually a very good book that teaches you business tips on how to run your MLM company. And they always say that for you to be a very good networker, you have to be very good at copying, replicating, imitating, duplicating. If you like one leader,
You see what in him you want to emulate and follow, and you do it also, and you will be able to be a success also. Remember, we are using the same system. So if all those who have been ahead of you were successful, there's no reason why you wouldn't be, because you're doing exactly the same system. So our lecture today is really long because, as you can see, the outline is also very long. After I do this very short introduction, I shall give you a short presentation on what to my mind is the correct attitude towards the DXN business. And then we shall discuss common diseases that laymen like you should know. And I'm sure we'll be very interested to find out how they come into our bodies and how we can prevent them. And I will emphasize also why stress is a major toxin. And then we shall have a product clinic on selected DXN food supplements and how they can help us. I had to pre-select these products only because there are many products in DXN, 57 in Malaysia, 33 in the Philippines, and we can't finish the whole day discussing. I will not be able to leave New Delhi if I will discuss all the products with you. And so we will cap the entire discussion with what I call the extra degree. So the eagle has become a very important and a very significant symbol in DXN for two main reasons. Number one, our company has also become an eagle. In fact, it is now becoming one of the biggest, if not the biggest, eagles in the MLM industry. And also many DXN members want to become eagles. They want to open their wings and fly. So I would like to start with a short story of the chained eagle in the business of DXN, which I just adapted from an article written by Mr. David Berg. And in the Philippines, they now call me a Daxen therapy specialist because I've been talking about these food supplements of DXN for a long time. So many people, you and me included, always resolve to do this or that thing, change this or that thing, break a bad habit or start a new good one. Sometimes it works, many times it does not. Like here in DXN, for example, many members would say, tomorrow I will definitely do prospecting. I will recruit and convince and make members. I will convince my friend, that friend, this friend. Most of the time it never happens because we can always have 1,000 excuses, a million alibis, until we regret again because at the end of the month we only get a very small check and we think this DXN business is not good enough for us. Is it because we are like the bird in this story? I'm sure you have heard about the eagle who was kept by a man and he kept him chained to a stake for many, many years. So this eagle actually never knew about freedom. He was never given the opportunity to fly, to open its wings and soar. It was an eagle who even forgot that it was a bird. So when its master thought that it was now too old to be kept, he removed the metal ring from the eagle's legs and tossed him into the air, hoping that the eagle will fly. But you know, of course, what happened. That eagle was now free, but he has forgotten how to fly. Worse than that, he has never really learned how to fly. So he just flip-flopped around the ground like he's done for so many years. There was no more chain, no more shackle that held him. It was just a bad habit. So those bad habits might be shackling you also. They can start very early, like in these two babies. And the one on top looks like a DXN member with so many problems. So there is a saying that goes, the chains of bad habits are too weak to be felt until they are too strong to be broken. So you might think that you cannot change or it's not possible for you to change. But if you really want to and are sincerely willing to, you can. You can also pray to God. And you will do things that you thought are not possible. But remember, it cannot also be all prayers. There has to be some work done. You have to do something also. And if you don't know hard work, you might not be able to learn it anymore. So if you want to be an eagle, you have to put some will into that transformation process. So with your new resolve, determination, and ability, you will be able to do things that you thought were not possible. There has to be a change in your lives. You have to break the cycle. Some changes are instantaneous, while others will take a while. So let me share with you some building habit tips, which I always share with DXN members. Did you know, or believe it or not, that they used to build bridges by just flying a kite from one end of the river to the other? And then the team from the other side of the river will catch the kite, put in a stronger string or a thicker string, and fly it again to the other side. Just like that, to and fro, until the thicker strings became ropes, and the ropes became cables, until they were able to pass all their materials to build the bridge. And remember, it all started with just one tiny kite string. So that's how habits are formed, either good or bad. All you have to do is add a thread every day, and before long, you'll not be able to break it. So in life as well as in DXM, all you have to do is take the first step, no matter how small, towards the right direction. Psychologists would even tell us that it will usually take 3 weeks before we can get familiar to something new. And then another 3 weeks for us to be able to make that into a habit. So meaning to say we have to go past that 6 weeks barrier so that we will develop good habits, like hard work. So the message really is, you don't give up too easily or too soon. You have to keep at it. Remember that you are already a member of DXM. You are already a part of the company. And this company has an intact business system. And all you have to do is do the business according to the system. As I've already said, if last year or the years before that weren't as good, you just have to consider them as trials and new colors and new designs in the windows of your life. So to end this first part of the presentation, I would just like to read to you a very short poem, which I paraphrased from the works of Ms. Gertrude Gast. And it says, the new year 2007, like a book lies before me. On its cover, 3 words, my DXN life I see. I open the covers and look between. Each page is empty, no words can be seen. It's because you did not write anything. But you are a writer, and you can hold the pen that will fill these pages to be read by DXN men. Just what kind of book will your DXN book be? Your life written there for other DXN members to see. Each day a page written one by one. Will it be worthwhile when finished and done? Lord, help me keep these pages clean and fair by living the DXN life I have written there. So you have to consider every day, each and every day, as like the start of a new year. You always have to greet each other, happy new DXN year. So now we go to the meat of the lecture, which is DXN therapy, or also DXN therapy, in which I define as the alleviation of human health with the use of DXN food supplements. In other words, your health will be benefited if you use our food supplements. But there are certain principles and certain things that we have to know before we can truly understand the DXN therapy. So the first principle of DXN therapy is that the food supplements of DXN are primarily preventive in nature and purpose. Meaning to say we want to prevent the disease long before they even come into our body. If there is cure, and certainly there are already many reports of cure just using our food supplements, they should only be considered as a bonus. Number 2, many studies and clinical trials have already been done, and as I've said, some of which are still ongoing, proving our food supplements can really benefit human health. And Dr. Lim and I have talked about this because we have so many products already in DXN, and even DXN members don't even know now what to use every day. And so we have agreed that we have to consider Ganoderma and Spirulina as the generalists, meaning to say they will take care of our entire body. Whereas the other products should be considered only as specialists. They will target only specific parts of our bodies. So in the Philippines, for example, I would usually give Ganoderma and Spirulina to one person. And if he complains also of difficulty of breathing from asthma, for example, then I will have to add cordyceps because it is our lung tonic in DXN. Another way of saying it is, if our main course in our meals will be rice, roti, mutton, and then we shall have some fish, the other things that we eat like the bean curd or whatever the vinegar, the onions will have to be considered only as sidings. So our products in DXN, our other products like cordyceps and cordypine, our androgy, our bee pollen, our cocoa cheese, our coffee even, our morinzy, or DXMT shall only be considered as sidings to our main course. The other principles of Dachshund therapy are the following. Number 4, the testimonies, as I've said, trials, and researches on Dachshund therapy shall be for the exclusive use of DXN and its members only. Consultations with Dachshund therapy consultants are being encouraged because we want to know how these products benefit you, and so we can share those benefits also with the other DXN members. And lastly, attendance in Dachshund therapy lectures or product clinics such as what you're having today will definitely help DXN members to understand how these products will benefit their health as well as the health of their relatives and friends. So why is there a need to know about Dachshund therapy or DXN therapy? It's because before you, behind you, and around you are still so many health problems that we have to contend with. From the most common colds, allergy, asthma, heart disease, hypertension, stroke, diabetes, arthritis, osteoporosis, kidney disease, cancer. And our slogan in DXN should be to be able to get away from all these diseases. There must be a way out from all of them. And so we shall discuss all those diseases one by one very briefly. Common colds. The word is also used interchangeably with the words flu and influenza. And it is viral in origin. So you will say, oh, it's just a common cold. I'll get out of it. I'll just take hot soup, vegetable soup, and then rest for 2 days and I will be cured. That's true. But don't you know that if you get attacked by a common cold 2 to 3 times in a month or 6 to 7 times in a year, that is going to weaken your immune system. And with a very weak immune system, that will invite all the other diseases to come into your body. And so this is viral in origin, and you know that viruses are very hideous organisms. They are also very intelligent. And how are they transmitted? They can be transmitted as airborne. By airborne, it means that it's just there in the air. They can be transmitted as droplets. Droplets are defined as fine spray of water that are floating in the air. And inside those droplets are millions and millions of viruses that can also affect other people. So when somebody sneezes beside you who has colds, it is not surprising that you will go home and also catch the colds. And another way of transmitting it is via fomites. What are fomites? Fomites are non-living things. For example, your handkerchief. If you sneeze on it and then your wife washes it, your wife will also get the cold. And secondly, money can also be fomites. They can transmit also viruses. So if somebody pays you money, you are very happy because you have money. But if that person happens to have colds and didn't wash his hands, he will also be transmitting the colds to you. So those are the forms of transmission. And I would like to tell you also about the serotype. Serotypes, influenza for example, will have at least 3 serotypes, influenza A, B, and C. And we are told by medical doctors that if you get the flu, it will take another 6 months before you get the flu, because you are given the immunity towards the flu for 6 months at least. But you will be surprised that last month you had the flu and now you have the flu again. It's because it's the different serotype. If last month you had influenza A, then probably this month you have influenza B. So as you can see, the viruses are very beautiful organisms actually under the electron microscope. This is an actual photograph of our cell, a T cell actually, inside our blood, which has caught some of the viruses, the ones that are colored blue. So if we look at them closer, we can see that they are really beautiful organisms, but don't be deceived because they are very hideous organisms also that can bring us diseases. And the bacteria likewise can also be very colorful under the microscope. But again, don't be deceived because these are very bad organisms that will bring us only diseases. And so we'll now discuss allergy. Many people still are suffering from allergy. And what is allergy? It is nothing but an overactive immune system. So you say, our immune system is supposed to help us, but how is this that now this one is overacting and is giving us allergy? It's because we haven't been taking care of our immune system that has now become weak. And so it now overreacts. If it meets dust, dirt, smoke, pollen from a flower, you immediately have the allergy. It's because it is overacting. What happens really is, inside our body are mast cells, M-A-S-T, mast cells. If these mast cells come in contact with dirt, dust, smoke, they will immediately rupture and release histamine. And it is histamine that is the one that is giving us too much allergy. Now we need an antihistamine to combat the effects of histamine, which are rashes, difficulty of breathing. So we have to give antihistamine. I'm sure many of you will be familiar with some antihistaminic drugs, such as Benadryl, Caladryl, Calamine, Celestamine, which probably were given to you at one time or another when you were children, when you had allergies. But didn't you know that our Ganoderma RGGL contains a very powerful antihistamine in the form of Lanostan? So if before taking our RGGL DXN products you were suffering from a lot of allergies and now we don't seem to be attacked anymore, now you know the reason why. Allergy can be hereditary, meaning to say your parents, grandparents will be able to pass this on to you. But it can also be familial. By familial we mean that we are wondering why the father and the mother can eat the crabs and the prawns, but the children cannot. That means it's only the new generation that has the allergy, and so it's only familial. It can also be acquired, meaning to say whereas in the past probably you were living in the mountains, and then you now transferred here to New Delhi, which is a very polluted city because of the smoke coming from all the vehicles. Then you are acquiring from the environment new forms of allergy. And these can be from dust, smoke, pollen, and mildews, and all the other things, even from food and alcohol. And from an unknown reason, I would like to emphasize that stress can also be a cause for your allergies, or a trigger that will make your allergies even worse. So that is why I tell my patients, asthmatic as well as allergic patients, that if you have an asthmatic or an allergic person inside the house, please do not irritate them, because this will only aggravate their allergies. Lungs occupy a very large space in our chest, just very near our heart. And one of the common diseases that can afflict our lungs would be asthma. And what is asthma? In medicine, we call that bronchoconstriction. So let us define that. Broncho, from the word bronchus, which is air passage. Constriction, the closing of. So there is the closing of your air passages. So the person with asthma will have difficulty of breathing or dyspnea. And he can also have wheezing, which is noisy breathing. So if you listen to somebody who is asthmatic, when you listen to him breathe, there is a high-pitched sound coming from him. It's because he is now finding it difficult to take out the air from his lungs. And as I've said, asthma is like allergy. It can also be hereditary. Your parents, grandparents can also pass this on to you. And we call these people atopic, because atopia means that if they come in contact with practically anything, they immediately get the asthma or the asthmatic attack. Even just by smelling flour, they can already get asthmatic attack. So there is a lot of allergy in asthma. And again, I have to underline the word stress, because emotion can also affect or aggravate an asthmatic attack. And if the person is not careful, he will develop chronic obstructive lung disease or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So as I've said, our lungs occupy such a very large space in our chest, and many other diseases can afflict it, such as bronchitis, pneumonia, TB or tuberculosis, emphysema, which is the trapping of a large amount of air inside the lungs, and then the most dreaded, which is cancer. I would like to show you how the normal lungs look like. This is a normal lung. It is colored reddish to brownish. It is actually almost very, very clean. But this is not your lungs. This is your lungs because you're a city dweller. You live in a city, and every day you are actually taking in pounds and pounds of pollution from the smoke from the vehicles and the environment. So this is how your lungs look like. It is already very dirty from all the things that you imbibe from the environment. And now we will talk about heart disease. Heart disease is still a very important disease because it is still one of the culprits of death. In fact, it is it is the leading cause of death. If you see this as a cake, and I made several slices of the pie, you can see that the biggest slice goes to heart disease. Meaning to say it is still one of the worst things that can come to a human life. You can die from it. Followed only by cancer and the rest, pulmonary disease, diabetes, and stroke. So, why do we get heart disease? How come our heart becomes diseased? Primarily, it's because of our diet. Because our diet may contain a lot of cholesterol. And cholesterol can accumulate and solidify and later on block your arteries. Now, there is a saying that you are what you eat. Or we can also say you are how much you eat. And if you eat too much cholesterol, this can definitely block your arteries later on. And the arteries are the blood vessels that carry our blood. So therefore there has to be smooth flow always. And another cause will be lifestyle. Lifestyle, number one, there is lack of sleep in many people. We call that insomnia. So it's already 3 o'clock in the morning and the person is still lying on bed trying to turn from one side to the other, cannot sleep. And why? It's because he is thinking of so many things. Too many thoughts are coming inside his head. And most of these things are just problems, money problems, etc. So my advice always is, do not think about your problems right now because it is time for sleep. You have to give yourself some rest. Your body needs it. And think about those problems tomorrow only. And then, of course, I do not have to overemphasize the bad effects of smoking and alcohol to your body. USA Today have released February 19, 2004, saying that actually more than 90% of heart attacks are caused by an unhealthy lifestyle. And also they did 2 separate studies utilizing about 500,000 people. And they found that it is actually lifestyle, not your genes, which will give you heart disease. And so, again, I have to underline the word stress, because many of you do not realize that stress can actually give you all these diseases that you don't want to come into your body. And where can stress come from? Every day there is stress. We cannot avoid stress actually. We can only lessen them. And where do they come from? They can come from your wife, from your husband, from your children, from your neighbors, from your friends, even from your co-members here in DXN. They can also give you a lot of stress. And so now I will tell you how a person gets heart attack. Because this is one condition that we have to do everything to avoid. Because this is really going to kill you. Heart attack. Our heart, like any other muscle in the body, needs nutrition. It also needs food. That is why the arteries, the ones that are covered in red, are bringing the nutrition and the food to the heart muscle so that they will always live and beat for us. Because if they stop beating, then we will die. But if these arteries that bring the food to the heart muscles are blocked, then that is the time that the heart muscles will die because no food will be going in there. And how does that happen? How does the block happen? The cholesterol that you have been eating in your diet has now solidified and has now accumulated and deposited in your arterial wall, in the walls. And so if they have deposited there, blood flow will be slower. And this will encourage the formation of blood clots. And blood clots will further block the entire arterial lumen and the pressure will increase. And you will already have a problem with blood flow and oxygen supply. So your heart muscle will die because from the arteries that are reddish, that means there is oxygen. Now it is bluish or violet. And so it means to say that lesser oxygen are going in there. And the heart muscle will die. And if this heart muscle dies, then it cannot beat properly. And you can die from it. So as I've said, we have to do everything to be able to avoid this traitor of a disease. And so now I will show you how our blood flows inside our body, so that you can appreciate how God made our body, and you will also believe that the more you learn about your body and how it functions, the more you will appreciate how God made it so beautifully, and your faith will also increase. So blue blood, meaning to say, it is used blood, it doesn't have oxygen, it has to go to the lungs for it to acquire some oxygen and then come back to the heart. And then the heart pumps it out to be distributed to the rest of the body, so that your other organs can also have oxygen and nutrition. And when used, it has now turned blue and will have to go back to the heart. And this will be pumped again by the heart out to be delivered to the lungs, where the blood can now take some of the oxygen there, and then it will now become red again and will go back to your heart again to be pumped by the heart again and distributed to the rest of your body. Meaning to say, every second, every minute of the day, even now as you're listening to my lecture, that is what the heart is doing. It is beating to keep you alive and distribute the oxygen in the different parts of your body. So what's new in heart disease? There is such a thing called state-of-the-art calcium scoring, which is also being done in the Philippines. And I'm sure it's also available here in India. This is being done through computerized tomography scan or CT scan, which is like an X-ray. Because science, doctors believe that calcium actually is a marker of heart disease. It's a very good marker. Because our arteries will be weakest where the calcium is depositing. And the more deposits there are, there will be increased tearing or injury to the arteries. And so this will correlate with the amount of plaque and the risk of you developing future heart disease. So you will say, our products in DXN also contains calcium. So is this bad for our bodies? Actually, our body is a balancer. Whatever is in excess, it will excrete, and whatever you lack, it will add, only if it is healthy. And our food supplements in DXN, especially the Ganoderma, is called an adaptogen. An adaptogen does something like that also. If there is excess calcium already in your body, it will help your body to excrete those excess calcium. And when you lack calcium, then it will add calcium to your body. So this calcium scoring is a painless test, it's a fast one also, and risk-free. And it uses CT scan to find out where the calcium is building up in your coronary arteries. And from there, we will be able to tell you if you have early stage heart disease. Early, that means it is still early, we can still do something about it. You may just have to do some form of food supplementation and you will be okay. And we can even determine its severity. This is recommended for men who are 45 years old and above, and for women who are 55 years old and above. So you will ask, why older for women? Why only 55? Why for men a lot earlier, 45 years old? It's because in the heart disease, the women are the winners. If you get 10 people with heart disease, many of them will be men, only very few will be women. They theorize that it's because of the estrogen of the woman, which is at a high level, so it kind of protects the heart. And that also probably partially explains why wives usually stay longer or live longer than their husbands. Their husbands usually die ahead. But it doesn't mean the wife cannot die ahead. She can also die ahead if she's not careful. Now we'll talk about hypertension. Hypertension is nothing but high blood pressure. That means the pressure in your arteries is already very high. Why? Because your arteries are already blocked. Also again because of the cholesterol plaques and the blood clots that have formed, and which I showed you in picture a while ago. If they are blocked, the pressure will increase and you will have hypertension. Again, I have to underline stress as a cause. Because stressful people usually get high blood pressure. And if they get mad, their blood pressure even rises all the more. And also you can get it from your diet. Many people love to eat salty foods because they think that with salty foods, they can eat more rice and they can be more full. But this is also very bad. Also spicy food. Now, spicy food, people, when they cook, are already so many spices put in there cooking, and then on the table they will add even more spices. And also fats and oils. They can also give you all these things that will later on cause you hypertension. And don't you know that if you have hypertension and you are not doing anything about it, you are actually called a walking time bomb. Because anytime while walking the streets of Delhi, you can just drop dead and die. This is a traitor of a disease also. And then the Ganoderma, our mushroom, has already been proven to be of use and has really benefits in people who have high blood pressure, in normalizing their blood pressure. So people who have already normal blood pressures need not be afraid because this will not be lowered further. Remember, our products are adaptogens. And if you have already low blood pressure, it will not lower it even more, but in fact will bring it to a normal level. So this is a graph that shows that the higher graph line is a blood pressure recording of people who are not taking our Ganoderma or reishi. And the blood pressure recording, the lower normal blood pressure recording are from people who have been given our reishi or our Ganoderma RGGL. If you're not careful and you are having hypertension for a long time, you can also have stroke. And stroke is actually cerebral. It occurs in the brain. So if a blood vessel ruptures in your brain, the blood there will accumulate. That's what you do every day. Unbalanced diet, you just eat what you want. Your favorite food, you just eat anything. And again, I have to emphasize that stress is a major culprit for stroke. So our brain supplies, or from it come all the nerves that are being supplied in the entire body. So if at the right side of the brain, there is a blood vessel that ruptures, this will paralyze half the left side of your body. And if the left side of the brain has a rupture of blood vessel, this will paralyze the right side of the body because the fibers are crossed. And so therefore, we have, you can see these people suffering from stroke when they walk, half of their body is left behind, and then their face is contorted. It is switched to the other side. And then we'll now talk about diabetes. If there is one area of illness or if there is one disease where GSM food supplementations have proven really, really well, it is in diabetes. We have already actually helped a lot of diabetic people normalize their blood sugars. So what is diabetes? It is high blood sugar. The sugar in your blood is high. Why? Because your insulin, number one, may not be functioning. That means it cannot detect the blood sugar, and so it is not eating the blood sugar. Insulin is the one that digests or eats or breaks down the blood sugar in our body. And there are only two types of diabetes. Type 1 is called juvenile onset diabetes. Juvenile because very young people can get them, even children, right after they're born by their mothers. And then it is also called insulin-dependent diabetes because the person is dependent on insulin already. He has to receive insulin injections daily for him to be able to live. So you ask, how come these poor babies were born with diabetes already? What happened to them? It's because they only have very few insulin inside their bodies. Very few insulin, that means a small amount of insulin only, so not enough to digest their blood sugar. Or they have enough insulin, but this cannot detect the high blood sugar. These are abnormal insulin. And the second type of diabetes is type 2 diabetes, or also called adult onset diabetes. That means adults will get it. Usually 40 years old and above, they will detect that they already have high blood sugar. And why, you ask, why did they get this diabetes at that age, 40 and above? Is because they might have also abused themselves when they were younger. They probably, every meal, they would eat a lot of rice, a lot of roti, and all these carbohydrate sources. And if they prepare their coffee or their milk, they will not be content with only 1 cube of sugar or 1 teaspoon, but 2 teaspoons, 3 teaspoons, 4 teaspoons, until it becomes really sweet. And so the insulin now has become resistant. It is now not functioning to detect the blood sugar and heat it up. So the person develops diabetes. This is also called a laboratory-dependent diagnosis because you will only know you have diabetes if you go to the laboratory and have your blood sugar checked. But then in medicine, we have signs and symptoms that will guide you to make you suspect that you have probably diabetes. And we call this a triad because there are 3 symptoms and signs. Number 1 is polyphagia. That means the person eats and eats, but is not getting fat. Second, polydipsia. That means the person is always thirsty. He has just taken water, he wants more water now because he's thirsty again. Number 3, polyuria. He keeps on urinating. He just went to the toilet, he wants to go back again, he wants to urinate again. So if these 3 signs and symptoms will be together in just one person, you already suspect that he might have diabetes and he should have his blood sugar checked. I also call diabetes an eating disease for 2 reasons. Number 1, it definitely comes from what you eat, from the sugar and from the carbohydrates that you eat from your diet. And it is also an eating disease because once it gets into your body, it will eat your body slowly, slowly. It will eat your eyes so that it will become blind. And it will also, people who are diabetic, I'm sure you know, that these people who are diabetic, when they get injuries in their feet, they do not heal anymore. And so probably they will end up having their toes cut, or later their foot amputated, and then below the knee, and then above the knee amputation, until the whole leg is gone. So these diabetes is really bad disease. We have to do everything to prevent it. It's an eating disease. And so where is this pancreas that secretes the insulin in our body, that is digesting or eating up our blood sugar? It is actually located here in the center of the abdomen. This is the usual picture I get when I operate on my patients. When I open the entire body, this is what I see. And the insulin is being produced in the tail of the pancreas, right here. And it is a very important hormone because without it, we will get diabetes. That is why when I have a patient who is stabbed, stab wound or gunshot wound, I always pray that especially if the patient is very young, I pray that his pancreas is not injured. Because if I have to remove the pancreas because of the injury, then that person, that young person, will become diabetic for life. Because there will be no more sources for insulin. And so he has to inject insulin into his body every day. So on close-up, this really looks like a very beautiful organ. It's protecting us. The other thing that it does is it actually digests whatever oil that we are eating from our diet. That is the other thing that it does. So in diabetes, we have what we call the yes test for diabetes. And this is just a set of questions that you have to answer with a yes or no to find out if you are a candidate for diabetes or actually has it already. So the first question is, are you 40 years old and above? Number 2, do you have a family history of diabetes, meaning say your parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, did they have diabetes? Number 3, do you experience frequent hunger, urination, or thirst, such as what I have described to you earlier? Number 4, did you experience drastic weight loss without trying to in the past month? Meaning to say, your weight dropped suddenly, very fast, without you doing anything. You didn't go into a diet or didn't even have any exercise. And only in the past month, very fast drop of your weight. Number 5, are you a woman who had given birth to a baby larger than 9 pounds? Because diabetic mothers will produce large babies because there will be no insulin that will digest also the glucose or the sugar of the baby, so the baby becomes big. And the next question, are you overweight or obese? To the layman, you have to differentiate the overweight and the obese. Both of them are fat, but overweight is somebody who has weight above normal weight, while obese is somebody who has weight above normal weight but has excess fat. So between the two of them, if you let both of them miss meals, you will not get them eat for a few days. The overweight person might become thin, but it will be difficult for the obese person to become thin because the excess fats have to be burned, and it is more difficult to burn them. Next question, do you have high blood pressure? Because this can also give a hint whether you have diabetes or will have diabetes. Next, do you have numbness or tingling sensation of the tips of your fingers or the tips of your toes? There is numbness already. That can also give a hint because That means blood supply, or blood doesn't go to the tips of your fingers and toes anymore. So there must be some form of blockage also. Next question, have you previously checked your blood sugar and has found this to be elevated or high? Next question, are you usually tired at the end of the day for no reason at all? Meaning to say, like right now, you just came here to listen to the lecture of Dr.R.V.Hao, and when you went home, you feel so tired, and you feel you can't get up from your seat anymore. No? So that might also give a hint that you have diabetes. And lastly, do you have a sedentary lifestyle? Sedentary meaning to say that practically the whole day you're not doing anything. You're just staying in your house, probably in front of your computer, doing some writing there, typing. You haven't even seen the sun outside. That is a sedentary lifestyle. So if you answered yes to only one question, then you are only low risk for diabetes. If you answer 2 to 4 questions with a yes, then you are already moderate risk for diabetes. And there has to be some form of dietary and lifestyle change. But if you answered yes to 5 or more questions, then you are already high risk for diabetes. And should get your initial blood sugar check already, and a regular blood check every month thereafter. Or you will have to go into a very strict dietary manipulation and control. By strict, we mean that if the doctor tells you to eat only 1 cup of rice, you only eat 1 cup of rice, you cannot eat more, because otherwise your diabetes will be worsened. And you have to go into some form of food supplementation. And in DXN, as I've said, they recommended Ganoderma and spirulina, and they have actually normalized many people's blood sugar levels already. Because if you not do that, you will have to go into some form of oral medications, which the medical doctors will prescribe to you, and which of course will already have or carry with them side effects. And if not, you will have to do insulin injections already. So then we will talk about arthritis. There are several types of arthritis, the most common of which is osteoarthritis. Osteoarthritis is actually the arthritis of the old. So that means that when you get to be 50 years old and above, then you can develop arthritis. You will always feel that it is very difficult for you to stand from the sitting position or the lying position. The reason is that when you grow old, your bones and joints also grow old with you. And so, if you are only 35 years old, you don't have the right to say that you also have difficulty in trying to get up from a sitting position, because that can only mean that you have been abusing yourself. And then the second type is rheumatoid arthritis. Rheumatoid arthritis is called an autoimmune disease. Auto, self. Immune, your own immune system. So your own immune system is eating up your bones and joints and your own cells. It has now gone crazy. It is now eating your own cells. Why? Because you have also abused it, and it has now weakened and cannot even recognize your own cells. So it is actually you who is the cause. And then we go to gouty arthritis, or the shortcut of it is gout. Gouty arthritis is actually an arthritis that you get from the food you eat also. And this is because of the accumulation of the uric acid that you get from your diet. When you get already very high uric acid, then you will develop gout. And where can you get uric acid? The richest sources of uric acid are, number 1, beans. And I'm sure people from India love to eat a lot of beans. No? So this also is the number 1 source of uric acid. Number 2, intestines of animals and innards. Say liver, lungs, kidney, etc. of animals. But that is not a usual problem here in India, because many of you are vegetarians. And then the number 3 richest source is egg, especially the egg yolk, the yellow part. So that's not also a problem here, because as I've said, many of you are vegetarians. And number 4 richest source are peanuts. That means most of us love to eat peanuts when we are watching movies or TV. So we want to eat peanuts, and this can add to us developing gout in the future. Septic arthritis is when virus, bacteria have gone into your joints already, that it is already infected. And traumatic arthritis is the type of arthritis that athletes usually get basketball players, football players, now when they kick and their knees become swollen, that is a form called traumatic arthritis. And this can be age-related and diet-related also. So now we go to osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is defined as bone loss or bone softening. So you might see old people already going down, their head going down to the ground. That is because their bones is very soft, and also because they haven't been taking a lot of calcium when they were younger. And so here, the men are the winners because this is the disease of the women. They theorize that when the woman is still very fertile, the estrogen can keep the bones very hard. And then when the woman approaches 40 and beyond, she is also going to approach menopause. And in menopause, the estrogen level goes down. So nothing protects the bone anymore, nothing makes it strong anymore. So most of the women will go down like that. And so if you get 10 people with osteoporosis, 9 will be women, only 1 will be men. So it doesn't mean the men won't get it. So that's why all of us also shall take a lot of calcium in our diet, so that we will be able to prevent osteoporosis. So you will say, this Dr.R.V.Hao is very crazy, because when he was talking about heart disease, he was telling us not to eat a lot of calcium because this can deposit in the arteries. Now with osteoporosis, he's telling us to eat a lot of calcium so we won't develop bone softening. As I told you, our body is a balancer. It knows how to balance itself if it is healthy. That is why we also have, if it's not healthy anymore, we have to take food supplementation such as Dr.R.V.Hao, which is an adaptogen, which is going to do exactly the same thing, balance it. Meaning to say, if you already have an excess calcium, it will help you excrete it because it's bad for your body. But if you lack it, because you're going to develop osteoporosis, then it will add calcium to your body, so you will not develop osteoporosis. So remember that osteoporosis is sex-related, women usually get it, and it's also dietary. It's diet-related because the mineral that is deficient is usually calcium. So now we go to the kidney disease. Fortunately, we have 2 kidneys. So if one gets disease, we can still live for a few more years. But if we do not take care of our bodies, if we kill 2 kidneys, then we will die with the kidneys because we cannot live without them. And where do we get them? Again, from the food that we eat. Many of us, as I've said, love to eat salty foods. This can give you hypertension, which can lessen the blood going to your kidneys and to your other organs. And it can kill your kidney also because of the sodium that is contained there. Too much sodium will also give you hypertension. And also from the drugs and the medicines that medical doctors give you. I am guilty of that myself because I myself is a medical doctor. And many times in the past I would give certain medications to my patients knowing at the back of my mind that this can also harm their kidneys in the future. But I do not have any choice. Our training is to be able to treat the patient from his illness at the time he comes to us. So we just tell the patient of the different side effects that can come from this. It is very different from our food supplements because here we do not have to worry about side effects and effects of the future. We are very safe with our food supplements. Because you know, people usually take analgesic, just a mild headache, just a mild toothache, just a mild body ache. They will immediately buy from the pharmacy or the drugstores analgesics, paracetamol, mefenamic acid, because they want to be relieved from the pain. But this is not good practice because these are things that can also harm your kidneys in the future, especially antibiotics. People can take antibiotics left and right also. Like in the Philippines, because many people there are also poor, many of them will not consult the doctor if they have infection. They will consult their neighbors. They will ask their neighbors, what did you take when you had this infection? And the neighbor will say, oh yes, this is the prescription given to me by my doctor 3 years ago. This was very effective. But this was 3 years ago. You know, this might not be the right antibiotic for that person, and it can also affect the kidneys. And, well, people do that because they are financially poor and they cannot afford buying medications. So these can also come from chemicals. Where can we have them? From the fruits and vegetables, for example, that we eat and we buy from the market. When we bring them home, we immediately eat them without washing them properly. Remember that the farmers put pesticides and insecticides to their fruits and vegetables only because they want to sell them at a higher price, and also that no insects will be able to be eating all their fruits and vegetables. But you, when you bring these fruits and vegetables home, you have to rinse them very well, clean them very well before you eat them, because this can lead to kidney disease in the future. And lastly, we will talk about the most dreaded, which is cancer. I would like to tell you that cancer cells, like viruses and like human beings, can also form communities. They are also very intelligent cells. And that many people believe that if you touch cancer, it will become worse. That is why many cancer patients, even my own patients, which I diagnosed to have cancer, I will tell them to undergo an operation. They won't have the operation anymore, because they believe that if you touch cancer, it will just spread in your body. So cancer has remained a big frustration of modern medicine. Up until now, we cannot present to humankind one single drug that will eradicate this major problem of the world, which is cancer. But what they do not know is natural medicine may have had the answer all along. Meaning to say, people were just not listening. Perhaps our Ganoderma and Spirulina may be the answer to all these problems. So where can we get cancer? From the brain. You can have brain tumors or brain cancer. And then where else? You can get them also from any parts of your digestive system. From your mouth to your esophagus, to your stomach, to your small intestine, to your large intestine, to your rectum, and even your anus. So our stomach really is a storage organ. It is the organ that is here. Soon after we eat the food, it will go to our stomach and will be stored there for at least 2 hours. So that is 2 hours. So after a heavy meal, we should not eat. We should not sleep within 2 hours. That is the advice. Because there is a disease called acute hemorrhagic pancreatitis, wherein the pancreas bleeds. And when it bleeds, the person cannot awaken anymore from his sleep. He will die. That is because while the person is sleeping, the pancreas also wants to sleep. But you are giving it too much job because you have eaten a lot of things. So the usual history of these people who die from their sleep and diagnosed to have acute hemorrhagic pancreatitis are people who went to weddings, parties, birthdays, where they had a lot of food, rice, roti, for example, any carbohydrate source, and then they consumed a lot of oil also, and then part of it, they also had a lot of alcohol. So when they went home, they cannot wait anymore, but they slept within the 2 hours. And those 2 hours are precious waiting, because you can die from that. And this is again a disease where the women are the winners. Because if you take 10 people who died from their sleep from acute hemorrhagic pancreatitis, 9 will be men, and 1 only will be woman. And the age will usually be something like 35 to 45, thereabouts. So young, relatively young. And so our small intestine, in a normal individual, it is about 19 to 20 feet long. And if you open it, such as what I do, if you cut it up, you will see that inside are actually many digital projections. These digital projections, if we look at them closer, are called intestinal villi. And they are there because they are actually sweepers. So they will make the food pass faster and will even wash away the bacteria and the viruses that are coming into the intestines. What is bad is these areas, these digital projections, are also the areas where the bad bacteria can hide and can actually live there. And so it might also cause us disease. That is why we have to take in a lot of fibers in our diet, so that these fibers will help hasten the removal of these viruses and bacteria and the contents of our intestine. And our Ganoderma RGGL contains a lot of fibers. This will increase intestinal peristalsis so that the food will pass faster. Our large intestine, on the other hand, is something like 5 feet long in a normal individual. And if we are not careful, these can also harbor certain bacteria there and diseases that will later on also degenerate into cancer. So practically everything in our body can have cancer. And our answer to all the diseases that we have discussed, the DXN Ganoderma, which is Ling Qi. In traditional Chinese, it's called Ling Zi, and simplified Chinese, Ding Qi. Japanese is Rishi, Korean is Yang Qi. In Indian, what is it? That's English. And so, And so I would like to tell you that your body is still the best doctor. Nothing can beat it. But how does our body exactly take care of itself? And what does the DXN mushroom do to keep our bodies healthy? So our body as a doctor has barriers. By barriers, I mean that there are certain blocks. That means enemies, toxins, invaders cannot easily get in because there are barriers. Our first barrier, first line of defense, is really our skin. It is also the largest organ in the body. And largest because anywhere you will look will be skin. No? And then we also have hair as our barrier because the hair will trap invaders. And then we also have reflexes, which will expel the aliens. So what are our reflexes? Number one, the cough reflex. If something gets inside our throat or inside our lungs, this will stimulate the cough reflex of our brain so that we will cough and remove these toxins out from our system. And then we also have the sneezing reflex. If something gets into our nose, we will immediately feel the itchiness and we want to sneeze to remove these toxin from our nose. And we also have the tearing reflex. If something gets into our eyes, then our eyes immediately produces tears, which will neutralize whatever toxin is gotten in or even kill it immediately. So we produce tears, we cry. So it's not in all circumstances that crying is bad or crying is sad. Meaning to say, it can also mean that our body is actually protecting itself. And our body as a doctor also has defenders or sentinels. We have neutrophils there, lymphocytes there, macrophages there. And these are our Marines, our soldiers and army, like they're protecting our country, which is our body. And we also have security guards and janitors, because they also clean up the area of battle after the fight is over. So macrophages, macro from the word itself, macro meaning large, phages, eats, it eats very large. So it eats very large because it is a cell with also a very large mouth. And what it does is it absorbs the bacteria and the viruses and the toxins inside it, and once inside it will produce substances that will immediately kill these toxins. And so if you only can see what is inside our blood, you will be able to really admire how beautiful the things that are inside our blood are. And in our body are also weapons in the form of antibodies, complement factors, and the rest. Antibodies are our guns and our rifle, while the complement factors are our ammunitions and bullets to our guns and rifles so that we can fire at the enemy instantly. An example is the B lymphocyte. The B lymphocyte is a very efficient cell in our body that goes around every day looking for enemies. And once it sees enemies, it will attach these enemies to itself. And immediately that lymphocyte will produce substances called antibodies and will immediately kill the toxins. We also have enzymes and antioxidants such as those that are found in Ganoderma, RGGL, or any other of our food supplements in DXN, and this can neutralize the toxins and even free radicals. So our immune system cells, the cells that are protecting us, are actually containing receptors. These are structures that are sticking out from it, and these structures, these receptors will recognize enemies from friends. They will be able to detect what to kill and what not to kill. So inside our body as a doctor, we also have a communication system. You think you are the only ones who have cell phones? Our bodies also have cell phones inside, in the form of interferon. Interferon is from the term to interfere. That means they interfere with the entry of the virus or toxins. So scientists and doctors have discovered interferon because they were wondering why, if the cell already contains a virus, then another virus cannot enter into the cell anymore. And the substance that is being produced by our cell to interfere with the entry of another virus is actually interferon. And this is our friend. We have to have many of these in our body so that we can always be protected from diseases. And we also have nerves inside our body. After the interferon gets the message who our enemy is, it will distribute the message to our other cells in the body so that they can also go to the area of attack and they can also help kill the enemy. The nerves are our cable system or our television where we can monitor the activities of the enemies. And our adrenaline is our fire alarm system, which will alarm all the cells to come to the area to help the body to fight against the toxin. Adrenaline, we have too much of this in our body when we are angry. If we are mad, we have so much adrenaline, or happy. That's why we call it the adrenaline rush. No? You feel something very nice and something very electrifying, and that is because the adrenaline is too much. So if you look at the inside of our body, the cells that are forming there, they can be very colorful also. And lastly, we have also the support group in our body as a doctor. We have the lymphatics, we have the spleen and thymus, and finally the liver. The lymphatics are our field operators in our sales force. Just like in DXN, you have to establish sales forces. You know, they don't know why the Philippines is so successful in selling coffee. It's because we have a lot of sales forces going inside the remote towns and barriers, delivering coffee to non-DXN members and selling them outright. So this is the secret actually of DXN business there. And then the spleen is our main headquarters, but I would also like to call it the cemetery. You know why? Because dead cells, toxins, once they pass through the spleen will eat them and bury them upon itself. So it is also like the cemetery where dead people are being buried. And the liver, which is the largest gland inside our abdomen, is actually our conference room inside, just like this. And where meetings are being conducted by all our cells to discuss about how to fight against the enemies. So our body is reconstructed very, very well. And an effective dietary supplement should be something that can actually affect all parts of our body, such as ganodermal lucidum. And so your question now is, how does the body exactly take care of itself? You know, our body contains trillions and trillions of cells. And in this slide, I represented it only with one single cell. Each cell has a nucleus, the round thing. The nucleus is the brain of the cell and controls the functioning of the cells and even everything that happens in the cell. There is a cell matrix, which is the passageway. That means you have to go through the matrix before you can get into the cell. And of course, there is a barrier, which as I have described, can be skin, hair, or our reflexes. And outside the barrier, every day, each second, are many toxins trying to knock and want to get in. They want to get inside our cells. Why? Because they don't have food. The only food they can have is our cell. They want to get inside so they can eat our cells, or they can control our cell to produce food for them. But if our immune system is strong, no toxin will be able to get in. Because our immune system will always have cells to fight against these toxins, as I've showed you. The macrophages, the interferon, etc. All our soldiers, our army, our security guards. But when our immune system becomes low now because you have abused it, it has now weakened, then some of the toxins will be able to get inside through the barrier. And our cell, with whatever strength is left in it, will try to fight. And this is the inflammation that you see, the swelling that you see, trying to fight against the toxin. And once these toxins get inside our cell's matrix, they can multiply there. And you should know that toxins can multiply very fast. In just seconds and minutes, they can number into millions and billions. And the most scary thing is if they can already reach our cells, and they can even reach our nucleus and start eating it and control our cell. They take hold of the machinery telling the cell to produce food for it. And now they will be able to tell also the cell that is now attacked, they will tell the cell to become cancer cells. And that is why we can form cancer cells if we are not careful. Cancer is formed because the toxin has already invaded the cell and has actually controlled the cell already and told it to become cancer. It will undergo what we call in medicine as mutation. There is a changing of the cell from one cell type to another. So our cells can be turned into cancer cells by the toxins. And the neighboring cells here, because this tumor will rapidly divide and grow and can even invade our normal cells, and that is what we do not want to do. We want the ganoderma to increase the strength of our immune system so that this will not progress. And so the cell that is now destroyed or is malfunctioning, is now a cancer cell, is in a state of disease already or illness. Meaning to say it cannot help itself anymore because of a very weak immune system. So your next question will be, how does the DXN mushroom or ganoderma help our body in this case? A cell or a body that has been taking ganoderma or RGGL has a very strong immune system. You already know that through the macrophages, the interferon, the security guards of the armies. So that once they detect that there are toxins in the matrix, they will immediately fight them in a process called detoxification. They will detoxify them and slowly move these toxins away from the cell, and then slowly also try to kill all of them until the whole body is detoxified. So our role, the Lynch's role, DXN RGGL, is really to cleanse or detoxify, such as what you have seen, and then to balance, and then to strengthen your body so that you will not get any disease anymore. So what we mean here is that Dr. Lim has always emphasized that there can only be two causes of disease: toxins and an imbalance of body systems. So all we have to do is detoxify our body and balance it, and then strengthen it so that it can become impervious to the entry of other diseases. So you will ask now, what is it in the ganoderma that has made it really very good product and a very good food supplements? If I will discuss to you all the 200 plus components of ganoderma, it will take us until next week. But I can give you the wonders of ganoderma in the 5 most important components that are contained there. These are polysaccharides, triterpenes, adenosine, sterols, and organic germanium. So first, polysaccharides. Polysaccharides are the ones that will stimulate the immune functions and interferon production. By now, you already know what interferon does, from the word to interfere. So it will interfere the entry of viruses into our cells. So if we have many interferon, that means it will help us to prevent all those viruses to get in. If you have already tumors growing inside your body, this can even suppress tumor growth. And then, to prove that it is an adaptogen, polysaccharides are active only when the immune system is low. But when your immune system is already optimal, it will only have little or no effect. Meaning to say it will just stabilize your immune system or make it stronger. The polysaccharides that are contained in our ganoderma is the best glucan ever, the beta-D-glucan, which will stimulate the receptors of your immune system cells and will produce antivirus and anti-tumor chemicals. That is why we can actually stop the formation of cancer cells. Proven already by many scientific studies and clinical trials. They will also stimulate the natural killer cells. Even if you're not doctors, you'll be able to understand what natural killer cells are. Natural, that means it's natural, it's occurring in your body and my body, we all have natural cells. And then killer, that means it kills immediately whatever toxins and invaders get in there. We also stimulate T cells. T cells are the ones deficient in patients who have AIDS. And if you have very low T cell count, then you can have several other diseases. And our polysaccharides in our ganoderma RGGL gives us helper and killer T cells also, which can help fight against those diseases. And macrophages, and you already know what macrophages are. Macro, large, phages, eats. These are cells that eat large, so they can eat so many viruses and bacteria at the same time. Our polysaccharides in our ganoderma is also very good for autoimmune disease. Auto, self, immune system. It's when the immune system has gone crazy and it's eating up your own cells. We have proven that we are very good results for people with systemic lupus erythematosus or rheumatoid arthritis, which are autoimmune diseases. And many people in the Philippines would usually call me, their relatives, their friends have breast cancer and are to undergo chemotherapy and radiotherapy. So is it good if they continue with their RGGL and spirulina? In fact, they should continue taking it because As I've already showed you in a past slide, that tumor cells, this chemotherapy can kill tumor cells, but they do not only kill tumor cells or cancer cells. They can also kill the normal cells at the side. And this is what we want to prevent. So if this will protect the normal cells, and at the same time, if they do die in the process, then at least they can be replenished right away because of the raw materials provided by our Ganoderma. Now the next component, triterpenes. These are steroid-like simple molecules with steroid-like action. So many of you might be familiar with the steroids. You say that, well, it's a good drug, but it's also a drug with so many side effects. That is why in medical practice, we do not give this left and right, because steroids can also have a lot of side effects. But if you, let's say, come to my clinic and you are suffering from a very severe form of asthma, and you think you are already going to die, then the best thing I could give to you will be a steroid injection to be able to relieve you from that asthmatic attack. Sure, you can be relieved, but there can also be a lot of side effects. So you will say, our products also contain steroids, so they can also be bad. These are only steroid-like molecules, and they only have steroid-like action. Meaning to say they are as good and as effective as steroids, but they do not share the side effects that steroid gives. In fact, they can enhance the action of your body's hormones and will help you be more resistant to stress. They are also anti-allergic because, as I've told you, we have mast cells inside our body, and when they get in contact with dust, dirt, smoke, they can actually rupture and release the histamine. But our triterpenes will prevent the breakdown of the mast cells so that there will be no histamine released, so you will not have allergy. No wonder we are also very good in fighting diabetes, because our triterpenes has insulin-like action. Also, it will inhibit cholesterol synthesis, meaning to say we do not have to worry about our cholesterol accumulating, and this can even protect our liver. Next will be adenosine. Adenosine in our Ganoderma RGGL will help muscle contraction and sugar metabolism again. That means that's why we're very good for diabetic people. Professor Hikino, unfortunately, is already dead. He actually was the one who discovered that our Ganoderma has calming and sedative effects. And this is because adenosine receptors are located in our heart and in our brains. So that is why if we drink, for example, our lychee coffee in the morning, the adenosine there will get to the adenosine receptors of our heart and brain, and that can make us feel more relaxed, calming, and sedative effects. That is why also we have very good effects for people who have just suffered from stroke, and also from myocardial infarction or heart attack. If they survive it, we give them our Ganoderma. They can have the calming and sedative effects that they need to have. The only problem is the action of adenosine is blocked by caffeine or coffee. That is why Dr. Lim made sure that our coffee shall contain only 6 milligrams per 100 milligrams of caffeine, just to give it an aroma. Because he wants it to be a healthy coffee that people, even with heart disease, can drink. So you do not have to worry about harming your heart or your arteries. So if you take lychee coffee already in the morning, you should not take any other coffee after that, because the other types of coffee will contain more caffeine and will, of course, block the adenosine that was contained in the lychee coffee that you initially took. And what's more, this can promote wound healing. In my own patients after surgery, I usually noted in the past that this will take about 7 to 10 days for the wound to heal. But after giving them Ganoderma and Spirulina, for example, because I always give them in pairs, and then I noticed that after 3 to 4 days, the wound is already healed very well. The next component are sterols. These sterols can serve as the building blocks of steroids, and we need steroids for hormone production. And this will also ensure that we shall have adequate vitamin D in our body. You know, vitamin D is just sterol that is being deposited in your skin. And then when you go out and get yourself exposed to sun, the ultraviolet rays of the sun will come in contact with the sterol and transform it into utilizable vitamin D. So people from India and people from the Philippines, we do not have problems with the vitamin D deficiency because we have a lot of sunlight. In fact, too much of it sometimes. Unlike other countries, like Alaska, for example, when they do not have too much sunlight. So they are candidates to develop vitamin D deficiency, or what we call in medicine as rickets. And you can also be ensured to have a lot of sex hormones always, and bile acids. So that means your body always contains a lot of these sex hormones. And no wonder it can prevent colon cancer, because the sterol in our Ganoderma can be transformed by our body to beta-citosterol, which is the one that will prevent colon cancer from developing. So the last component that I will discuss is organic germanium. Organic germanium is just a mineral, but it's a mineral that increases blood flow. The blood flow is the graphic representation I showed you earlier, where I showed you how the blood was pumped to the different parts of our body. That will be increased by our organic germanium, so that it can be assured that blood flow is always normal. And so it will also give you an adequate oxygen supply anywhere in your body. It is also a very powerful immunomodulator, meaning to say it will regulate your immune system so that it will remain strong and fight diseases for you. Dr. Asai, who is a pioneer of organic germanium research, in the past said that it was actually this ginseng which contains the most number of organic germanium, the herb that contained the most organic germanium. But when he studied our Ganoderma, he found that Ganoderma contains even more organic germanium than ginseng. And this can stimulate interferon production. Again, you know that what the importance of interferon, to interfere. This will interfere viruses to get inside our cells. So now your question will be, how these DXN food supplements enter into our body and help the human body? As I've said, our human body has been made very intelligent. It can detect enemies from friends. So when the lipid bilayer of our cell will detect that there is toxin coming, it will actually render it a negative charge. It will give it a negative charge. So that when these toxins attempt to get in, it will be rejected. It will actually be thrown away. But if the substance that is trying to get in is detected as beneficial, that means the body knows that it's going to be good for it, like for example Ganoderma, cordyceps, and spirulina of DXN, then this will not be given a negative charge but a partner. And both of them will be able to enter the cell, and so we will be able to enjoy their benefits. So your next question will be, how do these DXN food supplements protect our cells? Each cell of our body will have a receptor, and these receptors will be in a specific shape, such as in this particular case, it is trapezoid in form. Meaning to say, if you want to enter into our cell, you have to pass through the receptors. Receptor is from the word reception or receptionist. There is a receptionist there waiting to receive you. You can only enter the cell if the receptionist will let you get in, because there is one requirement. It is the lock and key mechanism. Meaning to say, it has to be like a lock, it has to be like a key going inside the lock to be able to open the lock and open the door for you. So, if we give our DXN food supplements, it will enter into our cell in a perfect fit so that our cell can be energized. And so we say that our cell now is protected from toxin and imbalance. So your next question is, but how does the DXN food supplement protect our cells if they are already damaged? That is a very good question, because DXN came to India only in 2000, year 2000. So how about the years before that? Probably some of your cells were already damaged by the air that you breathed, the water that you drank, and the food that you ate. So damaged cells, that is why some of you, other cells are already damaged. That's why the children are very lucky, because they can take this at a very young age when not much of their cells have been damaged. So damaged cells can still have receptors, but their receptors are of a different shape. In this particular case, it's like a square. So if our DXN food supplements enter, it can still enter, but it's not a perfect fit. It's not like a key going inside a lock. But since our DXN products are good, it will actually transform or reconfigure the shape of our receptors so that in the end, we can still achieve the perfect fit. and our cell will still be energized. And we say that because of the perfect fit, the cell can still become healthy. So your next question now is, how about if the body is already weak and the toxins have already gotten there first? That is again another question, another very good question, because I always emphasize that toxins, bacteria, viruses, protozoa, fungus, parasites, etc., are all very bad, hideous. But the worst is the virus, because the virus is also very intelligent. If we are thinking of ways and means to fight these organisms, they are also thinking of ways and means to fight us back. They are also very intelligent. And because they are intelligent, they can even assume the shape of our cells. They can assume shapes of the drugs and the food supplements and whatever that enter into our body. And then they can enter into a perfect fit, and we call this cell toxin-invaded cell. So if we try to give our food supplements in DXN, we might have a hard time getting in already. We have to knock there for so many times and wait for the effects for several days, nothing happens. And so we add some more products to be able to find the effects already in that person. And we say that more DXN products or food supplements are needed. And this is the theory of mega dosing. That means you have to give more in mega doses, because you will now have a hard time getting into the receptor of the cell. So people who are already suffering from high blood pressure, heart disease for 3 years, arthritis for 5 years, you cannot anymore take one pair of RGGL that is not going to have any effect on your body. As shown in this slide, you have to put in more products for you to be able to enter the cell already. Because your cell is already toxin invaded, it's already damaged. So our products will have a hard time getting in. So if you are already suffering from a disease for a long time, then you have to take six pairs and above already. Your last question, when is it too late for DXN products? When is the time when we say it's useless to give our DXN products already? It is when the toxin has already invaded your cell for a long time, most probably when you were still a child, when you were younger, and this toxin has already so controlled your cell, and it has already actually reconfigured the shape of your cell to something that is unrecognizable by any drug, any food supplements, anything from your body. So we call that cell an irreparable cell, or a cell that cannot be repaired anymore. So no matter how fast we give our DXN food supplements, its access is going to be denied, meaning to say it will not be able to enter anymore and give us the benefit. So now let me tell you that DXN products can help. I have always emphasized that there is indeed a scientific basis of stress. That is why I always underline them in all of those slides as causes of disease. And this is one of the thrusts of taxon therapy, and let me tell you why. Stress is really a major toxin. It can slowly kill you. There is a saying, as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. And I would also want to add, as he thinketh in his heart, so will his health be. And I'm glad that I share this idea with Dr. Richard Schultz, who is the author of Common Sense Health and Healing. So you can just imagine what kind of attacks, constant attacks our immune system cells have to deal with every day. Every day they have to be in contact with a lot of dirt, dust, and everything in our environment, and we are the ones giving it all these things. And if you think all the diseases that we have discussed were bad, well, they're really bad. They were bad. But medical and scientific research will clearly prove to you that your worst immune attack or your worst immune enemy is not actually microbes. It's not the virus, the bacteria, the fungus, the parasites, but it is actually stress, or what you are thinking and what comes out of your heart and mouth every day. And these are anxiety, worrying, problems, thinking too much, sadness, ill feelings, hatred, anger, suspicions, frustrations, regret, all these negative feelings. So you examine yourself, which of these are you feeling most of the time? And these are negative feelings that can ultimately give you disease. And let me remind you also that the most healing nutrients to your body, more than the vitamins, the minerals, the enzymes, and the fruit juices that you take every day, even more than the herbs, the antioxidants, and the immunomodulators of DXN, is actually love. You have to feel, you have to love other people, or peace of mind and a happy mood every day, so that you can stay truly, truly healthy. So your brain is constantly working, night and day, 24/7, 365. It never shuts down or takes a vacation. Your body, it is your body's major computer. It will control your metabolic functions, your chemical balance, your nervous system, your blood, your sexual functions, even other functions that you do not or we do not even know about. It is actually your brain which is at the head, controlling, actually maintaining and balancing you and your body every second of the day. So, scientists have already proven that when we have a thought, our brain will produce a chemical. And then, this will open what they call windows. And once that thought is through, the window will automatically shut down or close. So for example, if you feel in love, you found somebody that you are in love with, you will feel a tingling feeling all over your body. That is a brain chemical. And if you feel sexual, that is another brain chemical. If you feel hate because that stupid guy cut you off in traffic and you wish you had gone to fire at him so that he will die, that is also another brain chemical. And so, doctors and scientists call these chemicals neuropeptides. And these neuropeptides have been researched already for many, many years by doctors and scientists, and they have been found to change you, to create effects in you. And what you feel is actually the creation of these neuropeptides that are produced by your brains. And so, now here it is where it gets weird. Okay, medical science already made a huge discovery in the last decade. In fact, I already told you that from our immune system cells stick out some structures which we call receptors that will receive the invaders. And it was only discovered very recently that our immune cells, actually, which are designed to protect us from all these diseases, including cancer, bacterial, viral, there is a specific receptors only for neuropeptides that the brain produces, only for our emotions. So you now say, what is the business of the immune cells with what we think and what we feel? They are supposed to just protect our body. What do they care at all? They already have too many germs to worry about, and all the cancer cells also there. Why do they have to even eavesdrop into our personal affairs and private conversation? But here it even gets weirder. Okay, so we know now that your immune system is definitely listening to your emotional dialogue. Every day, what you feel goes to your immune system. But your immune system will not listen unless it is prepared to react to that particular message. So what do we mean here? We mean that your immune system is listening and reacting to your emotional dialogue. And medical science is telling you that these emotions and thought can affect the way your immune system cells will respond to germs and illnesses. They can either be boosted, they can either be impaired, or totally stopped. And just imagine if your immune system is stopped, what will happen? It was stopped by your emotion, you cannot fight against illnesses anymore. So, a more simplified way of saying it would be your immune cell's response is determined by your thoughts. And if the response is impaired, then you can have disease. So there are physical consequences to everything that you think. So why not think positively always? It is going to be good for your body and for your entire health. And DXN products will help us relieve ourselves from stress, from the everyday insults that we receive in our lives, through strengthening our immune system. So we have to stay away from diseases. Let us take our food supplements in DXN. That is again another thrust in toxin therapy. So now I cannot finish my lecture without having to talk on spirulina. Many of you might have forgotten about spirulina, but let me tell you, it is one very, very good product of DXN after the Ganoderma. And if they consider Ganoderma as the king of herbs, I would like to consider spirulina as the queen. Spirulina is the green food, which when combined with Ganoderma, the red food, will give you a regulator, a cleanser detoxifier, and a balancer as well for your total health. So 12 spirulina tablets in terms of vitamin B1 is actually equivalent to 4 bowls of rice and 8 pieces of sardines. And then these 12 spirulina tablets in terms of vitamin B2 will be equivalent to 2 pieces of potatoes and 210 pieces of grapes. So you do not have to go to the market every day and count the grapes that you eat up to 210. You only have to count up to 12 spirulina tablets. And then, in terms of vitamin B3, they will be equivalent to 5 pieces of oranges and 120 grams of cheese. And in terms of vitamin E, they will be equivalent to 7 glasses of milk and 2 chickens. And remember, these are not just 2 pieces of chickens, but 2 whole chicken. Can you eat that every day? 2 whole chicken that can be had from 12 pieces of spirulina only. So you will ask me, why is the DXN spirulina such a top-notch food supplement? What are its secrets? Well, let me share with you 6 secrets of spirulina. Number 1, it contains a lot of amino acids. And you know that amino acids are the building blocks of proteins. You cannot have proteins without amino acids. So meaning to say your structures, your eyes, your mouth, everything, these are made of proteins, enzymes also, and your muscles, the ones that you see. So muscle builders can even develop very good muscles while taking spirulina. In the Middle East, they have spirulina. They have a spirulina club of muscle builders where they show their very large muscles after taking our spirulina in DXN. Now, if you do not have very good muscles, then you will be walking in skin and bones. So you will have to take a lot of spirulina because this will give you a lot of amino acids also to make sure that every time you need the proteins, you will have their building blocks. Number 2 secret of spirulina is beta-carotene or vitamin A, which gives you health for your eyes, meaning to say even if you grow old, you will at least delay the effects of aging on your vision. This is going to give you a lot of vitamin A for the health of your eyes. They used to believe that the best source or the richest source of beta-carotene or vitamin A was carrots because they have the same surname, carotene, carrots. They thought it was the one that contained the most number of beta-carotene. But actually, one spirulina candy or one spirulina capsule that we have in DXN is equivalent to 20 times more beta-carotene or carrots than carrot itself. And the 3rd secret of spirulina is chlorophyll A, and which I think is the most important. You know, when they examined chlorophyll A in the laboratory, they found that this actually has the same molecular structure as hemoglobin. And what is hemoglobin? It is actually the structure that carries the oxygen with the red blood cell of our body to be able to distribute oxygen in the different parts of our body. So without hemoglobin, there will be no oxygen and the person will suffer from anemia. So there are at least 2 groups of people who are candidates to develop undetected anemia. What is undetected anemia? That means the person has anemia but he doesn't know about it. It is undetected. And the first group will be the women. Because the women, if they're still fertile, they will have to undergo monthly menstruation. That means they will lose blood every month. And sometimes they will lose a lot of blood. And no woman after a menstruation will go to the laboratory to check her blood picture or her hemoglobin, or even go to the mirror and look at her eyes if it's already pale. So sometimes she can suffer from undetected anemia. This can be bad for her health. But if she's taking a lot of DXN spirulina, then the body will steal the chlorophyll A of spirulina and will convert it to hemoglobin very fast because they are almost the same molecular structure. And so the person is always assured that he will never have a decrease in hemoglobin or suffer from anemia. The second group of people who are candidates to develop undetected anemia are the children, especially those who are playing in the soil in the ground without slippers, because parasites can enter through their feet. When you go home, don't forget to take at least 3 tablets of spirulina. This can assure you that your cholesterol will be managed and so you will not be able to develop cholesterol excess. Next secret of spirulina is gamma-linolenic acid, which is an essential fatty acid good for the nerves. essential, by essential we mean you have to take it from your diet because it is not being produced by your body. And it is also essential for your body's function. And according to science, this is an enzyme that eats up your free radicals so that your skin will not wrinkle and you will not suffer from old age problems very early. So if you do not want your skin to wrinkle very early, you should take a lot of superoxide dismutase so that this will eat up the free radicals. And so you will look good outside and you will also feel good inside. So I have given a lecture in the Gulf, I think in 2006, where I said that if you combine Ganoderma and Spirulina, this is already equal to total supplementation second to none. You will need practically nothing else. This is another thrust of toxin therapy. But I have to emphasize that all our other products in DXN are also good. But they are only specialists that target specific portions of our body. Whereas these two, all of your body is already taken care of. So if you are not suffering from any other symptoms or diseases, you only have to take Ganoderma and Spirulina, that's all. And then we'll talk now about our DXN Lychee coffee, which has become quite a very good beverage for many DXN members. In the Philippines, I tell them not to drink DXN Lychee coffee. Yes, I tell them not to drink DXN Lychee coffee. Because once they start drinking DXN coffee, they will not stop. They will like the taste so much and they will not have any other coffee in their lives. And so, let me share with you some DXN trivia about coffee. Did you know that the Arabs are actually generally believed to be the first to brew coffee? And this was known in Europe as Arabian wine. And also, did you know that coffee is the most popular beverage worldwide? With over 400 billion cups being consumed every year? And next, did you know that for reducing wrinkles and improving their skin, the Japanese have been known to bathe in coffee grounds fermented in pineapple pulp? Because pineapple contains bromelain and contains a lot of proteolytic enzymes, it can make your skin also look good and free from wrinkles. And did you know that after petroleum or oil, coffee is the second largest commodity in the world and is the second highest consumed liquid after water? So it was actually published, coffee is the world's most valuable trading commodity after oil. And when I went to Malaysia, I saw some posters there in the elevator door. And when I got closer, it was just actually advertising Gano coffee, Gano Mocha coffee. All their coffee, practically, they wanted Gano in it. Because they have already realized what the beautiful effects this Ganoderma has on them. Because if you take DXN Lychee coffee, you will be taking Ganoderma extracts from the miraculous king of the herbs. And it is very safe because it contains only 0.06% caffeine. As I said, 6 milligrams in 100. And the adenosine that is contained there will give you calming and sedative effects instead of the palpitations and the stress that the usual coffee will give you. They will make you stay awake for a long time. While here, you will be calm and you will be sedated. And what's more, you can have anti-diabetic, anti-arthritic, and anti-allergic properties of the Ganoderma in it. So this is very, very safe coffee. And I will tell you also that on record, the Lychee coffee of DXN is still the first healthy coffee of the world. So you can take as much as you want without having to worry. You don't worry about the harm that will be given to your heart or to your brain or to your blood vessels. Now we will talk about the DXN tea, which you have here in India. This is one very, very good DXN tea. And it is actually just healthy black tea made to taste better with the addition of lemon. I'm sure lots of people would like to add lemon. And you taste DXN tea with lemon and it's really very nice. And DXN tea is a Ganoderma flavored tea with the finest tea leaves gathered from Assam and even parts of South India. So it really comes from your place. It has antioxidants in the form of flavonoids, and it also contains polyphenols in the form of catechins. And these have been proven by science, many researchers already, that these can reduce the risk for developing cancer as well as other diseases. So we have so many tea actually in DXN. Here in India, you have the DXN tea. In Malaysia, they have the Rishigano tea, and also in the Philippines, we have the Spica tea. But if you look at all these tea, lychee tea also, if you look at them, there is one common denominator. They all contain Ganoderma lucidum mushroom extract, only added the other components, but all of them will have the same total effect and very, very good effects on our health and in our lifespan. So it is actually being planted there in Malaysia in the mountains, and they can look very beautiful in the mountains. And at certain times of the year, they can be harvested. Some of them will just be tea leaves, some of them will be flowers, and some will be in combination, tea leaves and flowers. And this will be dried up and then now ready to be brewed, such as our Camellia sinensis in our DXM. We utilize Camellia sinensis tea to make our Rishigano tea, which is also black tea. So in our DXM farm, we plant all those tea there, and this is how they are trying to process it. From the fresh tea leaves that they gather, they will sort this out and clean them. And then the ones you have here in India, the black tea, will be withered and then rolled into strips, and then there will be full fermentation, and then there will even be drying until you already have the black tea. So tea is normally prepared in tea bags. Sometimes they can also be prepared in infusion pumps, so where you can infuse with water so that you can pump out the tea that you can drink in a cup. Or they can be ready for brewing. You can just put it inside the kettle and then have the cord underneath, and then you can serve this to your guests hot. Or tea leaves can be placed inside a cup with hot water and let the tea leaves take out its components and extracts, and then you drink the nice tea. Here in India, you are very lucky. You have this DXM tea in powdered form. So all you have to do is put in some sugar cubes, and then you can enjoy a very warm cup of black tea, which tastes very nice, especially with good lemon. And they have already proven, Time Magazine has released it, that according to recent peer-reviewed studies, scientists now believe that tea drinking is really the reason why Okinawan people, or those people from Japan, actually have good health and long life, longevity, is directly related to the amount of tea that is being consumed. Because when they analyzed several populations, they found that these Okinawan women or people from India had better health and longer lives, was because the only difference was the consumption of tea per capita. And so they now are promoting tea drinking as a most healthy habit one person can develop. Scientists are now discovering also, as I told you, even in their coffee and in their tea, they are now extracting the Ganoderma mushroom so that they can put it in their tea and in their coffee for the health benefits. They believe that the good health and the long lifespan of those people actually from China and Japan were because of their very good tea drinking habits. You can also develop very good bodies, the women, if they drink a lot of tea. And this, from the World Health Organization, delivered to the Japan Ministry of Health, they gave a graph of people of life expectancy, meaning to say how long they live. And they have proven that the Okinawan people and the Japanese people actually have a longer lifespan, way, way ahead of the Swedish people and the people from America. So tea drinking is a habit that you can have which can actually give you longer lifespan and good health. So lastly, we will discuss about Morinda citrifolia. Morinda citrifolia is our morinzi or morinzine, which both of these are available in the Philippines, but I believe in India it's only morinzi. And this is the plant, the picture of which I took in Malaysia, where our morinzi fruit is actually growing there. It is prepared, it can be taken chilled, warm, or with ice. But as I have noted, it's the one that I like is the one with ice. And so the common names of our Morinda citrifolia will be lada, Indian mulberry, nono, eggplant, the cheese fruit, because it actually tastes like cheese. It is also hog apple, because you give that as an apple for the pigs and for other animals. And then it is also called Mora de la India, meaning to say it was really very preponderant here in India before, also as wild pine. But in the world, it's more popularly known as noni juice, which they have actually promoted as a cure-all for all types of ailments and afflictions. But Moringa citrifolia should not be confused with the Baji Chan of Chinese medicine, which is actually Moringa officinalis. They are two different plants, but share the same family. Now, the juice of the noni fruit, which is very famous in Polynesian culture, has been used as an anti-cancer agent for many years. Scientists, what they did was they extracted the noni juice, and they found out that this was very rich in complex sugars. And when they inject this to laboratory mice, which were previously been injected with lung cancer, actually found that they can survive better. It's because the antioxidant there will slow down the transformation of normal cells into cancer cells, because they have immune stimulating effects. And when they tried this in so many afflictions and illnesses, they found that this can be used in cancer, chronic fatigue syndrome, diabetes, high blood pressure, as an immune stimulant, even as for menstrual cramps for women during their menstrual period, and as a pain reliever for its analgesic effect. So these fleshy, yellowish white fruits from Polynesia can be used for wound healing, infectious diarrhea, skin conditions, as a tonic, immune stimulation, antifungal, and an anti-cholesterol. Just this morning, I had to take some Morinzi because I had stomach upset following the adjustment of my digestive system to Indian food. I insist I will eat Indian food. I will not go to American food like McDonald's or try to look for international cuisine. Because when you are in Rome, you have to do what the Romans do. And if you are in India, you have to eat what the Indians eat. It is the only time you can actually taste their food. And I found your food very tasty. And for the medical people, this is what they're going to be interested in. What is it in the Morinzi and the Morinzyme that is actually doing all these wonders? Actually, so many acids, anthraquinones, polysaccharides, glycosides, terpenes, and alkaloids are contained that will explain all the beautiful effects it has on the human health. So my total message to you this morning is really that if you will take all our food supplementations in medicine, you will practically need nothing else to keep yourself healthy, because you are not just vitamins and minerals. We are beyond vitamins and minerals. We are better than any vitamin and any mineral that you can find in the market. Medical doctors will prescribe also vitamins and minerals which are synthetic. And we find this a very good adjunct in our practice to make people recover faster from their illnesses. But if we give a whole food, such as what we have here, a mushroom and an algae, these are beyond vitamins and minerals. So to end or to cap my lecture, I would like to present to you what I would call the extra degree. This is for DXN members, and this I modified only from a simple truth presentation. When we were in high school or in the elementary, we were taught in science that at 99 degrees centigrade, water is already hot. That means you cannot touch it anymore. But at 100 degrees centigrade, water boils. Only a difference of 1 degree. From hot, it now boils. And we know, of course, that with boiling water comes steam. And you know also that steam can power a locomotive. Whereas in the past, when they did not have so much energy sources, what they did was just to boil water to run their machineries and even their vehicles. So steam can power a locomotive. So what I really mean is just 1 extra degree can make all the difference in your lives. So also in your profession, in your vocation, in your business, such as DXN, it can also separate the good from the great. Just 1 extra degree. And also in DXN, it can separate the mediocre from the successful. So to prove that, they tried to analyze for the last 25 years all major tournaments. What was the difference between the first prize and the second prize? The difference was only less than 3 strokes. Meaning to say, if only the second prize moved 3 more movements, he would have been first. But he didn't try hard enough, probably. So major tournaments such as basketball, football, volleyball, softball, golf, and tennis. And the difference between a senior star diamond and a double diamond in DXN are just 2 qualified diamond legs. That's just an extra amount of work, an extra amount of time, an extra degree to make your DXN business boy. So they also analyzed the Olympics. They tried to find out what was the difference between a medalist who went home with a medal and no medal at all. And the difference was also extremely small. Example, in the 2004 men's 800-meter race, they found that the margin of victory between the first and the second was only 0.71 second. That's not even 1 second. And in the Indy 500, the average margin for the last 10 years between the first and the second was only 1.54 seconds. That's not even 2 seconds by your stopwatch. So what does this all mean? When they tried to find out also the money that was brought home by all the winners, they found out that on the average, the first prize winner will bring home about 1.3 million US dollars, while the second will only bring home a little over $500,000 US dollars. This is a difference of 657,492 US dollars. That's a lot of money. In India, that is equivalent to about 35 million rupees. And you can certainly buy a lot of things from it. Houses, vehicles, places to visit, vacation, or even just a few more laptops that you will need in your business. On the average in the Philippines, I also found out that the monthly check for sleeping triple diamond in the exam is 200,000 pesos. While at the most, 100,000 pesos only for a very hard-working senior star diamond. What is the implication? Their difference in position is just 1 degree, but their difference in income is 1/2. You double 100,000, that becomes 200,000. So what do I mean? It's your life. Aapki zindagi. Anything to do with your life. It's your life. But it is you, actually, who are going to be responsible for your results. And it is you also who will be responsible for the amount of check you receive each month, for the amount of work that you do. You. What is you here? Oh. You. So it's time to turn up the heat. And to get what we've never had, we must do what we've never done. And the only thing that will stand between you and your dreams is your will to do it. And then the faith to believe that it is possible. So here in DXN, we love helping people, but we cannot help other people without first helping ourselves. And also, you have not lived until you have done something for someone who can never repay you. So now you are bored, I'm sure. You're like this cat who wants to yawn very big. You want to say, what a tiring long lecture from Dr.R.V.Hao. So just one more slide. Everyone is looking for the key to happiness, right or wrong? Yes. But let me tell you, there is no key to happiness. Because the door to happiness, just like the door of DXN, is always open. With that, I would like to thank you all very much and a pleasant good morning.